I never thought I'd get fired by an HOA. You know, the kind of situation that should only happen in some messed up sitcom. But here I was, standing in the middle of a snowstorm truck, still running with the sting of betrayal hot in my chest. The road salt was burning my eyes, and I'd just spent the last 4 hours clearing paths for fire trucks, ambulances, saving lives, real people with real emergencies. And there she was, Vivien Sterling, president of the HOA, strutting up in her designer heels like she owned the whole damn world. "You're fired," she said with that smug, self-satisfied smile. "We've hired Premier Property Services. They've got a better bid." I couldn't believe it. "Lower bid." "You're replacing me with the cheapest option," I shot back, trying to stay calm, but my blood was boiling. I'd spent the last 30 years helping this community. I had cleared their driveways, plowed their streets, and kept the elderly safe, yet she, the corporate shark who'd never so much as touched a snow shovel, was firing me. It wasn't just a job to me, it was family. I was the third generation running Blackwood Brothers Snow and Ice. My grandfather started with nothing more than a rusted Ford and a snowplow he'd welded himself. My dad turned it into something real. My brother Magnus was supposed to take over after his tour in Afghanistan, but he didn't come back. And now here I was at 45, still running the business, keeping Pennsylvania's hills from becoming a frozen graveyard. Tony, my lead driver, lost 2 fingers to frostbite saving a kid during the blizzard of '09. Rick's been with me forever, precise as a surgeon with his salt distribution. Eddie, our mechanic, can rebuild a transmission in a snowstorm with duct tape. These weren't just employees. These were my brothers. We'd never missed a storm, never left anyone stranded. Millbrook Estates. This community of 47 homes nestled in the rolling hills had been our bread and butter since 1994. We'd always taken care of the old-timers and the newcomers. Dorothy Finch, 83, still baked cookies for my crew every December. Harold Martinez ran the volunteer fire department from his kitchen table. And the Kowalski family, well, they'd been here since the mills ran. True Pennsylvania stock. Then, Vivien Sterling showed up, a pharmaceutical sales exec, all sharp suits and sharper ambitions. She bought the mill owner's mansion for cash and quickly wormed her way into the HOA. Within 6 months, she was president. She promised to professionalize everything. First on her list, my business. When Pete Kowalski announced his retirement from snow removal, Vivien saw her chance. "We need to modernize winter services," she declared one October evening at the HOA meeting, tapping her perfectly manicured nails on the table. My bid was straightforward, $8,500 for the whole season emergency response, more salt than the state highways. But Premier Property Services had submitted their bid, $6,200. Marcus Webb, Premier's owner, was a clean-cut guy in a hard hat with all the right certifications. His trucks gleamed like they'd never seen a real snowstorm, and he was promising state-of-the-art equipment and digital service tracking. It was a joke. The math didn't add up unless they were cutting corners. And when you cut corners, people get hurt. But Vivien didn't care. The vote was 4-3 with Vivien's new corporate coalition overruling the old-timers who remembered what community meant. As I walked out into the sharp October air, the wind biting at my face, I knew one thing for sure: she'd just signed death warrants for the elderly residents in those hills. Because when winter comes, calling cheap contractors don't answer. November hit Millbrook Estates like a freight train, and I was sipping coffee at 5 a.m. watching the weather radar. Calls started pouring in, not from Vivien, but from the people I'd spent decades looking out for. Dorothy Finch couldn't get out of her driveway. Harold Martinez had dialysis in 2 hours, but his car was stuck. And where was Premier? Nowhere to be found. By noon, Premier's crew finally showed up. 2 trucks that looked like they'd been rescued from a junkyard. The lead driver couldn't have been older than 25, scraping the asphalt like he was trying to dig to China. They missed 3 entire cul-de-sacs. Dorothy's walkway was completely untouched. And Harold's driveway, half-heartedly plowed, leaving a layer of ice that would turn any normal walk into an emergency room visit. I started photographing the damage, documenting Premier's failure. The salt spreader playground sand from Home Depot. Not even road salt. I couldn't believe it. This was supposed to be the professional service Vivien had promised. Instead, it was a scam. I pulled Premier's business registration, and guess what? They weren't licensed for winter service. No chemical dicing permits, no specialized equipment certifications, nothing. I filed a formal complaint, Dorothy's broken wrist. My ticket, the County Emergency Services Coordinator, They needed to know that the HOA was playing with people's lives. Vivien thought she was saving a few dollars, but in reality, she'd exposed every homeowner in Millbrook Estates to financial disaster. When the storm of the century hit in December, Vivien tried to cover her tracks. She sent out an email saying that Premier would handle everything. But by 10 a.m., Premier's rust bucket was stuck in the snow and nobody was answering the phone. This was it. The storm hit hard and the neighborhood was abandoned. That's when I got the call. Ezra Harold's chest pains are getting worse. We can't get an ambulance in. I was already out the door. I couldn't watch my neighbors suffer because of Vivien's greed. The EMTs were slipping and sliding, trying to carry Harold down on a stretcher. It took 47 minutes to get him to the hospital. He survived barely. But the Kowalski kitchen caught fire too because the fire trucks couldn't make it up the hill either. The only driveway clear of snow Vivien's. And that's when I knew I wasn't just going to save the community, I was going to destroy Vivien's reign. She'd made one mistake after another. The paper trail was growing, and when Dorothy uncovered the bank records proving that Vivien had been receiving kickbacks from Premier, I knew it was over. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she had all the power. But she was about to face a reckoning. Vivien called an emergency HOA meeting trying to cover her tracks, blaming everyone but herself. But by then it was too late. I had already filed the evidence. The charters, the bank records, the photos of Premier's incompetence. Dorothy stood up, legal papers in hand, and dropped the bomb. Vivien was under investigation for fraud. She was finished. When the sheriff's deputy came forward with handcuffs, Vivien's face went as white as the snow outside. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to defraud, violation of fiduciary duty." The crowd erupted in applause. And as they led Vivien away, she slipped on the steps, unsalted of course, and face-planted into a snowbank. 6 months later, the neighborhood was a different place. Dorothy was president, and under her leadership, the HOA thrived. My business, it doubled. And we started the Magnus Blackwood Memorial Fund, providing free snow removal for veterans and elderly residents on fixed incomes. And Vivien. She got 18 months in prison and had to pay restitution. Her mansion was sold to pay her legal fees, and the new owners, regular people, joined the community, digging out driveways and building relationships. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's about building something better from the wreckage. So here's my question. How many of you are dealing with a Vivien Sterling in your HOA right now? Someone who talks about professional standards while cutting corners that could kill your neighbors. Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories about regular folks who refuse to let petty tyrants destroy their communities, hit that subscribe button. Because in America, the snow always melts eventually, but what you do during the storm, that's what people remember forever.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.